Welcome to this explainer. Right now, as we're speaking, every 66 seconds, another senior is being told they have dementia. And by the time we actually finish our time together today, so many more families will have heard those heavy, life-changing words. But honestly, here is the truly heartbreaking part about all of this. For some of these absolutely wonderful people, the cause was never actually their age. It was a bottle. Just a normal, everyday bottle sitting quietly on their bathroom shelf. A bottle that they were promised was completely safe. Over the years, doctors have watched this exact picture play out more times than they can even count. I want you to think about someone you might know. Maybe it's a neighbor, or maybe it's a family member who has been incredibly sharp their entire life. We all know someone like this, right? They remember every single birthday, they can make a complicated family recipe totally from memory, and they always seem to know exactly the right thing to say. But then, suddenly they just start losing the thread. They forget the names of dear friends they've known for decades. They start missing really important appointments. They might even get lost on the drive home from the grocery store, a drive they've literally made 1,000 times before. And almost universally, everyone around them just nods with this sad, knowing smile and calls it getting old. But what if it wasn't? What if it was actually a medication, one that almost nobody even thinks to question because, well, a trusted doctor prescribed it and a reliable pharmacy filled it? Today, we're going to walk through this entire mystery together. I'll be your guide as we completely unpack how everyday medications might be quietly affecting your brilliant mind.
Right off the bat, I really want to speak directly to a deep, silent fear that so many of us carry as the years go by. You might have found yourself standing right there in the middle of the kitchen, holding a coffee cup, and completely forgetting why you walked in there in the first place. And in that quiet, frustrating moment, you might have whispered to yourself, "Is it just my age, or is something really wrong with me?" Listen to me. I want to assure you right here and right now that you are seen, you are understood, and you are so far from alone in asking this question. It is absolutely terrifying when that mental fog rolls in. It's scary when familiar words just completely disappear from the tip of your tongue, or when trying to concentrate on a simple newspaper article feels like you trying to hold on to water. It can make you feel incredibly isolated, almost as if you're slowly slipping away from the person you have always been. But I want to replace that fear with some very real, grounded hope for you today. Because if you've been feeling this way, the answer might not be some inevitable, unstoppable decline. You aren't losing yourself. You are still right there.
So, what if the real answer to this whole hidden memory mystery is just simply hiding right there in your medicine cabinet? Newer, highly detailed research keeps showing us time and time again that totally ordinary, everyday classes of drugs can pull your memory and your learning down hard. And sometimes this traumatic change can happen inside of just a single year. The vast majority of folks taking these medications have absolutely no idea it's happening. They simply assume their beautiful brain is just aging. But here is the incredibly hopeful truth we're going to uncover today. Medication-induced memory loss is very often completely reversible. Yes, you heard me right, reversible. Once the cause is identified and gently adjusted, that heavy fog can lift and the clarity you thought was gone forever can actually return. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. First, we'll dive into the hidden memory mystery. Then, we'll look at sleep, stomach, and bladder medications. After that, we'll cover heart and anxiety medications, followed by antidepressants and antipsychotics. Then we'll explore something called the silent stack effect. And finally, we'll talk about reclaiming your clear mind. Nice and easy.
All right, part 1, the hidden memory mystery. Let's get right into it. Now, there's a very long medical word you might hear your doctor use, and it's anticholinergic. I know, it sounds incredibly complicated, a real mouthful. But actually, scratch that. It's a very simple idea once we break it down. These are simply medications that block a specific brain chemical called acetylcholine. To make this easy to picture, I want you to imagine your brain is like a bustling, busy, highly organized office building. Acetylcholine is your essential office messenger. This little guy is constantly running around the building, carrying really important files. He's the one who helps you lay down a brand new memory of a conversation you just had with your grandchild, and he's the one keeping you alert, sharp, and focused throughout the day. Now, naturally, as we get a little older, our brain produces just a little less of this messenger. It's perfectly normal. So the brain leans very, very hard on every single messenger it has left to keep the office running smoothly. If you introduce a drug that blocks these remaining messengers, well, it lands much heavier on a 70-year-old brain than it ever would on a 30-year-old brain. The part of your brain that takes the absolute biggest hit is called the hippocampus. It's this tiny seahorse-shaped structure right in the middle of your brain, and it is the exact place where your new memories are formed before they get filed away in the permanent cabinets. When those messengers are blocked by these medications, the files just pile up on the desk. The memories simply never get stored.
Okay, moving to part 2, sleep, stomach, and bladder. Let's talk about some common culprits you might actually have in your house right now. Consider diphenhydramine. You probably know it much better by the brand name Benadryl.
This is that little pink pill so many people reach for on a Sunday night when they just can't seem to fall asleep, or maybe to calm down an irritating seasonal allergy. Because it sits right there on an open drugstore shelf and costs just a few dollars, we naturally assume it's completely gentle. But inside the delicate environment of your brain, it's actually a strong anticholinergic. It acts like a massive roadblock for those vital memory messengers we were just talking about. If you use it every single night to sleep, the fog rolls in very slowly. You might never even connect your daytime confusion to that innocent-looking little pink pill sitting on your bedside table. A safer alternative for allergies is loratadine, which is sold as Claritin, because it doesn't cross over into the brain in the same way. Next up, we have proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs, like Nexium or Prilosec. Folks frequently take these for heartburn after a really heavy meal. Now, here's a fascinating fact about your body. Your stomach actually needs acid to pull vital nutrients like vitamin B12, magnesium, and calcium right out of your food. These are the exact nutrients your brain cells depend on to fire cleanly and quickly. If you starve the brain of B12 over several years, you get misfires and deep confusion that looks exactly like early Alzheimer's disease. A gentler alternative might be an H2 blocker like Pepcid, or even something natural like DGL licorice. Finally, there's oxybutynin, often sold as Ditropan, given for bladder control. Now, it saves people the deep embarrassment of sudden bathroom urges during church services or long car rides, which is of course a wonderful relief. But it easily slips right into the brain and parks itself exactly where new memories are made. Newer drugs like Myrbetriq work through a totally different pathway, relaxing the bladder without ever blocking your memory messengers.
The medical research connects this very plainly. And honestly, the numbers tell a really clear story. A 2023 paper in the Journal of Geriatric Cognitive Health followed older adults who used anticholinergic drugs regularly over an extended period. And what did they find? They found a 54% higher risk of developing dementia compared to people who stayed off them entirely. That is more than half again the normal risk, often stemming from something we treat as casually as a piece of candy. Now, I know that number sounds really frightening to hear, but please take a slow, deep breath with me. The reason I'm sharing this specific statistic with you isn't to scare you at all. It's to deeply empower you. Understanding this number means understanding that the decline might not be permanent. Recognizing the cause is the very first step toward finally clearing that fog. And that brings me to absolutely the most important point of our time together so far. Please, please remember this. Never stop a medication suddenly on your own. Your heart, your digestion, and your incredibly complex nervous system have completely adapted to these prescriptions over months or maybe even years. We are having a collaborative conversation today, giving you the tools, the vocabulary, and the vital knowledge to take with you to your doctor's office. You and your doctor are a team. Any changes to your daily routine absolutely must be made gently, slowly, and safely together under their careful supervision. Let's transition to part 3, heart and anxiety medications. Let's talk about statins for a moment. Medications like Zocor and Lipitor are among the most prescribed in the entire world for folks over age 60. And they do an incredibly important, literal, life-saving job lowering cholesterol in your blood vessels and significantly reducing the risk of heart attacks. They absolutely belong in a lot of people's lives. But here is the other half of the story that rarely ever gets discussed. Did you know your brain is close to 60% fat? It actually uses cholesterol to build something called the myelin sheath. Think of the myelin sheath like the thick protective rubber insulation wrapped around a copper electrical wire. It ensures that the electrical signals in your brain travel incredibly fast and clean without short-circuiting. If you lower cholesterol too hard with a very strong statin that easily crosses into the brain, you can accidentally leave the brain completely short of the raw material it needs to maintain that vital insulation. In 2023, a study in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that older adults on long-term, highly potent statins actually had a 26% higher rate of mild cognitive impairment. People described having frightening blanks, like a route they've driven for 20 years suddenly becoming entirely unfamiliar. But the truly great news here is not all statins do this. Options like pravastatin do not cross that blood-brain barrier nearly as readily, leaving the brain's delicate environment largely untouched, and they are generally considered much safer for your overall cognitive function. Now, what's really important to understand about benzodiazepines? These are drugs like Valium, Xanax, and Ativan, is that they are often given for anxiety and severe sleep problems. And when someone first takes them, wow, they feel like a true rescue. The sudden, overwhelming panic eases up, the racing heart finally slows down, and much-needed sleep comes. They work by heavily sedating the central nervous system. But over time, with regular use, they create this slow, creeping chemical sedation of the entire brain. A 2022 study in the British Medical Journal found that seniors using them for longer than 3 months had a 51% higher risk of Alzheimer's. Learning simply slows right down. People describe experiencing a profound emotional flatness, where they miss out on the joy of a grandchild's laughter or the beauty of a simple afternoon. They feel like they are moving through a thick, heavy fog and just no longer feel like themselves. The absolutely crucial warning here is about the exit. If stopped abruptly, severe rebound anxiety and crippling insomnia can return dangerously fast. These medications absolutely must be tapered slowly over weeks or even months with your doctor's close guidance. Gentler alternatives like buspirone can often help manage that anxiety without causing that deep, heavy mental clouding.
Moving right along to Part 4, antidepressants and antipsychotics. Let's look at amitriptyline first, which is sold very widely as Elavil. It's an older antidepressant, but it's wonderfully versatile, meaning doctors often give it for frustrating nerve pain or really stubborn insomnia. However, you should know that it is one of the most powerful anticholinergic drugs still in regular use today. It blocks those precious memory messengers so aggressively that memory problems stop being just a rare side effect and actually become an expected outcome. The second one is paroxetine, commonly sold as Paxil. It's an SSRI, which is a much more modern class of antidepressants. But there is a really painful irony hidden here. Paroxetine is the only SSRI with strong anticholinergic activity. A 2021 review showed seniors taking it were 30% more likely to show early signs of cognitive impairment compared to those on other, similar antidepressants. It is just heartbreaking that a pill meant to stabilize the mind and bring peace might slowly erode a person's short-term memory. Thankfully, much safer alternatives like sertraline or escitalopram exist for managing mood, and medications like gabapentin can be used very effectively for nerve pain.
Now, this 71% figure specifically concerns antipsychotic medications like Seroquel or Risperdal. These were originally designed for severe psychiatric conditions, but they are increasingly being given off-label to older adults in nursing homes for mild restlessness, sleep problems, or even just the natural agitation of dementia itself. These drugs work by suppressing dopamine, a chemical that is absolutely essential for focus, planning, and memory. Reduce dopamine enough, and that bright, beautiful brain becomes dull and much less responsive. A 2022 Lancet study found older adults given these for behavioral symptoms faced a staggering 71% higher risk of worsening cognitive decline within just a single year. So often, loving families sit right by the bedside watching this decline and grieving, believing it's simply the natural, unstoppable course of aging or disease, when the true cause is entirely chemical. Behavioral symptoms and restlessness can very often be improved with consistent daily routines, gentle music, and a calm, reassuring environment instead of reaching for heavy sedation.
Let's dive into Part 5, the silent stack effect.
So, the crucial point we need to talk about is polypharmacy. It is the major danger that almost nobody talks about. As we age, it is incredibly common to visit multiple different specialists. You might visit a cardiologist for your heart, a urologist for your bladder, and a general practitioner for your everyday aches and pains. Each doctor is trying their absolute best to help you, and each one prescribes a single, seemingly harmless pill for a very specific problem. But because they are separate doctors, nobody is sitting down and calculating the total burden on your system. Polypharmacy is the slow, silent accumulation of these medications taken together in one single body. Their individual side effects might be barely noticeable on their own, but when they compound and stack up together, they create a massive, heavy blanket over your brain's memory centers. Let's walk through this and imagine a completely normal daily routine for a senior. You wake up, the sun is shining, and you take your oxybutynin with your morning tea to ensure you can run your daily errands without worrying about your bladder. Later in the afternoon, you enjoy a nice hearty sandwich, but you get a little heartburn, so you take a PPI to settle your stomach. Evening rolls around, the house is nice and quiet, but your legs ache with nerve pain, so you take amitriptyline to find some comfort. Finally, at night, you just can't seem to drift off, so you reach for a simple Benadryl. Individually, each one of these medications was taken for a completely valid, understandable reason. But looking at this full day all at once, you can see how acetylcholine, your brain's vital memory messenger, is being systematically blocked from several different directions simultaneously. Morning, noon, evening, and night. The brain doesn't just slow down under this pressure, it actually settles into a deeply underpowered state. And this chemical state looks remarkably, terrifyingly similar to Alzheimer's disease on standard cognitive tests.
A comprehensive 2022 study in Age and Aging tracked older adults with exactly this kind of high anticholinergic burden. They found a staggering 120% higher risk of dementia within a 10-year window. That literally more than doubles the risk. And the overwhelming majority of these wonderful folks had no idea they were taking memory-blocking medications at all. They were just following instructions, trying to live their lives comfortably. If this explainer is helping connect the dots for you today, please take just a moment to leave a comment or tap the like button so this vital information can reach more seniors who desperately need to hear it. Because as we are about to see right now, knowing this number is the master key to turning it all around.
Finally, Part 6, Reclaiming Your Clear Mind.
If you only remember one single thing from our time together today, please let it be this deeply encouraging truth. This is the entire reason we are having this conversation today. Medication-induced cognitive decline is often completely reversible when it is identified early. It doesn't require a miracle or some magical cure. Just imagine waking up one Tuesday morning and realizing the fog is finally gone. Once the chemical burden is safely reduced by a medical professional, the heavy blanket lifts. So many people regain their clarity, their vibrant energy, and their sharp memory within just weeks or months. You can get your mind back. You can truly feel like yourself again.
Let's see how this builds into an action plan you can use this very week. It is just 3 simple, empowering steps to take back control. First, grab a bag and gather up all your prescription bottles, your over-the-counter pills from the bathroom cabinet, and yes, even your daily vitamins and supplements. Put them all together so absolutely nothing is missed. Second, make an appointment and ask your doctor or your local pharmacist a direct, simple question. Can you help me calculate my anticholinergic burden score? Pharmacists are completely brilliant at this, and there are simple tools they use to do exactly this calculation. And third, work with them as a team to safely reduce dosages, switch to gentler alternatives that don't cross into the brain, or just slowly taper off pills you simply no longer need.
As medical experts beautifully note, the brain is far more resilient than many people realize. Your brain deeply wants to heal. It really does. It wants to form new, joyful memories of your family. It wants to be alert and sharp. The neurons and the beautiful connections are still right there, waiting for you. They just need those heavy chemical blankets to be safely lifted off so they can breathe and function optimally once again. Your mind is incredibly strong, and given the right environment, it can absolutely bounce back.
I want to leave you with this caring, proactive question. Will you take that first step? Will you gather your medicine bottles and ask your doctor for a complete review this week? You hold the profound power to advocate for your own health, your own clarity, and your own memory. And remember, your medicine cabinet is just one place your body hides its warnings. Your fingernails can actually reveal critical warning signs involving your kidneys and nervous system years before other symptoms appear, which is exactly what we will explore next time. Thank you so much for joining me today. Stay sharp, stay hopeful, and I will see you in the next explainer.